Yeah, a little vape action. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Um, Jason Dutch here. Uh, by myself today. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get on tonight or not. Because Lindsay is going to be out. So, I just decided to jump in now. And kind of say hello, 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 and try to see if I can get big Hasalasa Ding Dong. But Hassan is not able to join either today. Um, and apologize still. My allergies are still killing me. I've had a bag of ice, which is no longer ice. It's now water on my eyes, trying to get the bags to go away. But they're like there. They're like there for good. There's nothing I can fucking do about it. Um, so yeah. Hey to anybody listening on YouTube or over on Twitch or Twitter. So for those of you who might be new here, Dig on America, we are a progressive stream. We'd have 3 different shows, 4 soon. Well, 4 different shows, 5 soon. Mikey's calling me a noob, but he doesn't feel like jumping in. He's just sitting there doing nothing. He can certainly jump in if he wants to, but he won't because he's weak and he knows that when he's on the show, the quality is not as good as when I'm on the show by myself. Prove me wrong, Famine. Prove me wrong, Famine. But as I said, I just want to go over a couple of quick things. I really can't wait to stop using StreamYard. It's really annoying to not be able to see, what's going on Twitch. So I have to leave it open in another window. And but I have not quite mastered the studio mode yet with Streamlabs. I have it set up. I just don't feel confident enough in my skill to do that yet, and I have not had any time at all to like screw around with it because I've been fucking busy as shit all day long. So check the numbers. I have no idea what you're talking about. But you're talking about when you're on the show, Mikey. What are we gonna do with you? I don't know. What are we gonna do with you? But okay, so a couple things I wanted to talk about. First of all, there was a story that super annoying. Let's see if I can find this. There was a story that I'll share. I think I saw a video about it. Maybe we could watch that video. Let's see if I can pull it up. So I was on LinkedIn earlier, and they had a story pop up about ACT scores being the lowest that they've been in quite some time. Um, and of course, it's not really the story that people that gets me riled up. It's the comments that get me riled up. So actually, here's is this the story here? Yes, from 2 days ago. Let's watch this one. It's a short video. Bend the knee. Yes, sir. Yes, Your Grace. I shall bend the knee. Oh, you know what? I did it again. Share audio. I'm so behind right now. It's ridiculous. I haven't watched any episodes of Rings of Power. I've only watched the first 3 episodes of Game of Thrones. I am caught up on She-Hulk, which the ending to that was just ridiculous. So I finished that. And what else am I behind on? Oh, Andor. I've only watched 1 episode. So but I've been doing a lot of work with, trying to we've had some issues with some of the other shows. Like we couldn't do Breaking Barriers last night because we had some last minute stuff pop up with Kim's team. And then we had had a show get rescheduled last week with Lauren Hubbard. So it's been a rough week at Dig on America. Though they had a great show on Wednesday because I was off. So that show was fantastic because it was sans me. And it was also amazing how, as I'm watching that show as a viewer, it's amazing how when Anna reads through a dig, regardless of whether or not I wrote it, but when Anna reads through a dig, nobody ever pauses her. but oh yeah, and Wayne totally fucking wrong about the Queen. So let me say, well, but yeah, you guys never pause Anna. You need to pause Anna more to talk about the things you said. But it's like you're so captivated by her speech, and she did. I'll tell you what, that woman, she was reading. I don't know if she pre-read what I sent her, but she read that like it was the 50th time she read it. She's fucking amazing. Just like I can't get over it. Wayne, by the way, I wanted to chime in on this when I saw that conversation about Wayne defending the Queen and saying how she's powerless. Like the same people, right? That's the point, Mikey, is you're actually listening to her. Yeah, you did walk away. You missed some interesting points. You missed one of the points about how the same law was used differently when it was about the Communist Party. When some members of the Communist Party were indicted under the same law as Brandenburg was, and the ACLU basically did nothing because they were communists, and the ACLU was very anti-communist. So, of course, communism just means, it doesn't mean they want to commit crimes. All it means is they favor a particular economic system that they think would be better than the one that we have. So dangerous, though, that they were locked up for it. And it took Brandenburg, a KKK member, to actually get the ACLU to move. That should show you where the Overton window in the United States is at. But Wayne was wrong because I've heard him on multiple occasions talk about how the church needs to keep its fucking nose out of politics. And he's right. But that's an influential, they have an influence over politicians and over politics that is very present. It's very salient. It's, you're very aware of it. It's in your face. That's exactly the same, if not double, for the Queen or King now. So the idea that the monarch of England has no power whatsoever and that they're just a figurehead is fucking rubbish. Or it's bangers and mash, as I know that's a derogatory term. I don't think they had some term that someone brought up in the chat that was new to me. I just know wanker. It's as far as my English insults goes, is wanker. But that doesn't mean so what? That doesn't mean that they can't. What is interference? What is interference? You have to define what interference is, and interference against is positioning for something considered interference, or is just you have to, and also who's enforcing that, right? Like if they do go against it, do they lose the crown? No. Do they get fined? No. So it's not. I have seen a lot of Brits who are very against the Queen during her funeral, and of course, anytime you're going to have a public official, you're always going to have people who are for them or against them. You have it for the everyone in politics, you have it for people in entertainment, athletes, you know, Kaepernick, Kardashians, whomever, right? You're always gonna have people who like them and people who don't like them. And, you know, so like just the fact that she had detractors does not prove the point by itself. I'm not trying to make that argument, but it's pretty split in England as to whether or not she deserved like the sending off that she got. Obviously, like it's okay for her family to mourn, and you know, I think people are kind of fucked up for the way that they treated some of the family members when they were just expressing their grief over losing their grandmother. My grandmother is not fucking perfect, but when she passes away one day, hopefully in many, many, many years, she's 90 something, you know, if someone were to come and say, well, she did this, 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 and this, I'd be kind of irritated too, because it's my minute to mourn. But on that's on a personal level. On a societal level, people don't respect those boundaries, right? So, and when you're a public figure, you don't necessarily get those boundaries. But the idea that if the Queen says we need to go into Africa and push imperialism, and then people say, oh yeah, this is a good thing for Africa, even though it wasn't a good thing for Africa. When they're saying, hey, you know what, we're going to go test COVID vaccines on the African population, and the Crown is like, well, this is a good thing. We should support this because those areas are under vaccinated. No, we know why you're fucking doing it. You're doing it because you're using them as fucking guinea pigs. Don't give me your bullshit. Okay. The Queen was influential on hundreds, if not thousands of pieces of parliamentary legislation within England. You know, this is not me just saying this. You can back this up with a simple Google search. You know, it's, again, I'm not trying to position her as like this horrible person. She did a lot of things that were bad. She was a human being. She also is a icon for women, you know, and stuff like that, you know, there's like, she was had a very, very long reign, was in power for a very long time. You know, and as a woman commanded a lot of respect, and that was very groundbreaking for women and very, very good. But that doesn't mean that, you know, her covering up the fucking crimes for her piece of shit son running off to Epstein Island, and running cover for her, like Trump. If I call Trump out for his kids or Biden out for Hunter Biden, you got to do the same thing for her. And his crimes are arguably way worse than anything the Trump kids have done that we know about, at least. So, so why are you on this side of this? All right. So there's like one person in the fucking chat. Actually, it shows there's like 6, but the only one talking is Mikey. Oh. All right. Well, here's one article. This isn't even what I was talking about, but we'll go back to the other thing in a minute, because Mikey's gonna try to defend Wayne's ridiculous point, and like that, I have to prove something is true when you can go and, like, as the right wing would say, you know, do your own research. But hell, okay, fine, we'll do it. All right, so here's one. This is just the first thing that popped up. All I did was Google. What did I Google? Just to be fair here. I want to be straightforward. Legislation the Queen was responsible for. And I probably should have put influence, but insider, 9 things Queen Elizabeth has the power to do. This is an older article. Not really the question that I was looking for, but from June 28th. Let's see what this has to say. I've never seen this article before. While Parliament is the UK's highest governing body, the Queen is still responsible for signing off on a proposed bill before it officially goes into effect. So the Queen can also grant a royal pardon to anyone convicted of a crime. That's interesting. That doesn't sound like a figurehead to me. You may mostly see her giving to charity and rocking neon outfits, but she does have some very real governmental power. This is again from Insider. Open Parliament sessions. Parliament, not the royal family, is the UK's highest governing body, yet Queen Elizabeth II does still have some power over this legislative group containing hundreds of individuals. Namely, she must officially open Parliament every May to commence the parliamentary year. The ceremony is elaborate and steeped in tradition. That doesn't necessarily sound like anything other than ceremony, so I'm not sure that particular like ceremonial stuff is kind of like Mike Pence opening the votes. I'm not really concerned about that. Legitimize laws. Parliament may have the power to make laws, but the Queen must sign off on a proposed bill before it goes into effect. She must give what's known as royal assent, which means that she approves of the proposed law or doesn't. Hold on. Yes, how did you open the door when it's locked? All right, what can I do for you?
I was just going to give you this.
What is it? Huh? Oh, that's fine. I don't need it. I'll get it later. Thank you, though. Lock the door, please. I don't know why I have the door locked. Why do I bother having the door locked? This is what happens when you have kids and you podcast. It is what it is, right? So, I mean, the kids, I guess, they come first. And anytime I tell the wife, hey, I'm going to do something, I'll put myself first for 5 minutes, I hear about it for months about what an asshole I am. So, however, this power to reject laws is, to say the least, not something that comes into play very often. The last time a monarch didn't grant royal assent was 1708. So that basically means that nothing has been so egregious that anyone has said, no, the Queen's going to veto it, right? Appoint ministers to the crown, most government officials but they do sign it, right? So just to kind of go back to that last point, you have to look at this in two ways, right? You can look at it and say, well, yeah, but that they just sign off on whatever Parliament says and they just don't really have anything to do with it. But if something is bad, so you have to basically go back through the history of things that have been signed off on by Parliament: the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. And for any of those which have caused harm, she has liability, in part. Because if she was like, hey, if she was this real like benevolent creature, or any of them, and she's like, hey, you know what, maybe we shouldn't go test vaccines in Africa, bad optics, bad idea, I'm going to sign a veto on this, and here's my social reason, my sociological reason as to why. But because they don't take that, they think, well, I just get to skirt responsibility because it would be like, it's not, we haven't done this nobody's done this in 300 years. So I don't have any accountability either. Just because a law is in practice does not mean that law is good. Okay. So if you're going to take the good, you got to take the bad. The Queen appoints ministers to the crown, including advisors and cabinet officials. Pardon criminals. Issue passports. Who cares? Command the armed forces. All soldiers must swear an oath to her before joining the armed forces. Declare war. She's the only one in the United Kingdom with the power to do so. She could dissolve Parliament. So, I mean, this is just one article, right? And there was, like I said, there's a lot more evidence for this on Google, and I don't want to talk about this all day. We can have a conversation about this if anybody disagrees, but again, if you're going to get upset with the church, then you got to get upset with her because they both hold literally the same role. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if this is still the case, but the monarch used to be the head of the Church of England as well. I'm not sure if that's still the case or not, but anyway. So as far as this ACT situation, I'm gonna watch this real quick video here. Let me make sure my door is locked. I need to put some oil on that fucking thing. That's for goddamn sure. All right. This is not the... Oh, here we go. Hey, look, an ad for StreamYard. Oh, how am I not logged into the right fucking
really professional can be a real
YouTube?
Chore.
College admissions tests died to their lowest score in more than 30 years. Now the question, what is to blame? The pandemic or something else? News Nation's Nancy Liu is live.
This should be a fascinating fucking conversation.
With more on this ACT dip.
Well, Nicole, it is disappointing, and many view it as another devastating result of the pandemic. This year saw a huge drop in ACT scores. That test, a key indicator of how students are going to do in their first year of college. The scores are in, and many high schoolers who took the ACT did not do well. The average score was below a 20 for the first time since 1991. Students averaged a 19.8 out of a possible 36, and perhaps even more troubling, 42% of those students did not meet any of the subject benchmarks. Those benchmarks.
Okay. All right. So first of all, an average ACT scores have been falling for a while. When I was in college, when I was in high school, you pretty much had to have, I want to say it was a 25. I graduated in 92. So I remember, I think I got a 21. And the 21 was not sufficient to get me into the schools that I wanted to go to. Now they just said the average score is 20 is like 19 point something. It was 20. I looked into this. I believe it was 20.3 last year and like 20 point something higher the year before. So sure, yeah, I mean, COVID fucked everything up, but especially when people ignore COVID, right? And you have a lot of people who have to, you have a mother or a father or a grandparent that's hospitalized or dying because of the fact that they have that they had this illness, and it's still going on today. You have more variants going on today. You had people who pulled their kids out of school for two reasons. One, because they were afraid their kids would get COVID, and two, because they were afraid that their kids were going to be forced to be vaccinated. So this was happening on both sides of the political spectrum. Other reasons that education might be going down is because you've lost some teachers. Teachers are putting up with a lot of shit. Teachers are being, in a lot of states, you have a conversation going on where, on one side of the coin, Republicans are telling teachers that they're un-American assholes who are, pushing CRT and pushing the idea that men are women and women are men, and all this crazy shit that they say because they hate trans people. Then they're talking, and then with the CRT conversation, they're like, "Oh, our kids, you can't teach this, you can't teach that, you can't say this, you can't say that." So the legislation that has been going through in a lot of these red states has been forcing a lot of teachers to leave their professions, right? Much like the right wing will jump up and scream about how police officers have been leaving the ranks of the blue line for some time now and are not, because they're not appreciated. You think that's not happening with teachers as well? You're insane. Because teachers take a lot of shit. There's even villainizing of the teachers' unions. And by the way, when people rip on unions, if you're going to rip on a union, like, look, again, I was in a union. I was in 2 unions. I was in 2 really, really fucking shitty unions. But people will rip on unions and be like, well, unions are the problem. Unions are not the problem. Our economy is the problem. If our economy was good, and what I mean by our economy is our economic system. If our economic system, capitalism, if capitalism was good and fair, then you would have no need for a union. The only reason that you need a union is because you do not have a fair capitalistic system. You have a system that promises to trickle down, yet does not trickle down. So that is the issue when it comes to unions. You can have this is the part that really bothers me. I was a Teamster, right? The Teamsters union that I was in was super corrupt. Like they did, the United Food Commercial Workers Union, they didn't even represent me when I was let go from my job when I was like 18, 19, and I was paying my dues. I didn't know that I was supposed to get union representation. So those 2 unions suck. But what people who are anti-union will do is they will say, oh, look how bad those unions are. Shouldn't we just get rid of unions? Well, when we have a corporation that steals from its employees or that falsifies its books to make more money for stockholders, or has one of any number of infractions that corporations engage in, do we say kill all corporations? I don't hear any real noise about that. You have a few people on the left who, don't believe that there should be private business, but 95% of people on the left are not anti-private business. They might be anti-giant business, but most of them are not overtly anti-private business, just in general. So we treat unions in this weird way where it's like all unions are complicit in being bad because a union is bad, when we don't do that in any other facet of society. Like, we don't say, well, the Texans are bad, so therefore the Bills are bad. We don't say that this particular karate school is bad, so all karate schools are bad. And I'm just throwing a couple things out there, right? Like, but it's not something that we do. We don't say, well, look, great example, historical example. Mattel literally fudged their books in the late 80s, and like it was this huge scandal. The Mattel, the creators of Barbie, they had this huge scandal where the owner of the company falsified the financials in order for them to show, oh, Mikey's here. Good. In order for them to show, I'm going to stop sharing while Mikey pops up. But Mattel had this huge scandal where they falsified their financials in order to show the numbers that the growth that their stockholders were looking for. We did not all of a sudden go and say, oh, well, look what this company did. All companies are bad. Nobody did that. So I kind of find it weird that when, like, if Teamsters 1, 2, 3, just to, has like a union leader arrested for corruption, we're ripping on like the electrical unions too, or the teachers unions, and then for some reason, with the exception of some of the more far right groups who are pretty anti-police, 98% of the right wing will never criticize a policeman's union because that union is for some reason exempt from that from the anti-union conversation, which I find to be slightly ironic. Hello, Mikey. I cannot hear you. You are on mute, sir.
How about now?
Yes, I hear you, brother.
Why doesn't the police union pay out all of the lawsuits whenever a cop does something wrong? Why are the taxpayers paying for it?
That not only that, but why is it that so if I do something at work wrong as a union member, now you know this from being in UCFW, if you do something shitty, you still get fired. But for whatever reason, like if you were operating a forklift and you're a Teamster and you kill someone accidentally in the warehouse environment, like you're driving the forklift around the corner, you weren't paying attention, maybe you were listening to music a little bit too loud, whatever, and you hit somebody, or you forget to wear your yellow vest and you get hurt, you're fired.
Yep.
But if a police officer, and like those things happen, but they happen super infrequently. Like you don't hear about it much. Might happen a couple times a year. But a police officer multiple times a year shoots someone who wasn't a criminal, literally on purpose, shooting them. They may not have woke up this morning and said, gosh, I really feel like killing George Floyd today. But they did it. No, and in that case, obviously he was convicted. But how many cases before that weren't they? They get ridiculous treatment that no other union gives.
I just want them to pay. That's all. They can do whatever they want to do until we dissolve them. But in the meantime, you're going to foot the bill for this. Stop charging the taxpayers for your own malfeasance.
Right. And like, here's another funny thing. Like, so this podcast, in short order, we're going to be LLC'd, right? So I've already started like working on it. I'm a little bit behind. We're all going to pitch in and we're all going to do an LLC, right? So and the reason why we have to do that is because like, if Mikey decides to spat off one day and say some egregious shit, I don't want them coming after my house.
Oh, they're taking
right.
it.
But like, well, you'll probably do that on purpose. So they'll go after my house.
They're going to get it.
But the police officers union gives them that protection. No other business has that. You can go after employees of qualified immunity.
Qualified immunity is unconstitutional.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
I don't know how the hell that fits with.
This is the one area we'll agree with Flo.
It's not even like, and nothing else. Like even in Good Samaritan laws, it only goes to a certain extent. You can't just like constantly do harm without any kind of repercussions. That's just not how the law works. That's not how any society can function. Which is why we're so fucking dysfunctional, is we have all of these fucking pieces and cogs and gears that are not meant to work. They're not built to work. That's why they don't fucking work. So all these assholes who are blue line this and blue line, it won't be long. It happens to white people too, where you just get scooped up out of your house, or they kick in the wrong house to fucking do a no-knock raid and your fucking daughter's in there. And now it's, I can't believe it's gotten this bad. It is bad. You're being told it's bad. So fix it.
Right.
And stop making people pay for it.
We've been telling you it's bad for years. And you're right. Plea deals, I'm not sure they're unconstitutional. You might be right. I'm not saying you're wrong.
They are.
I'm saying I've never researched that it's unconstitutional, but they are certainly not in the Constitution.
Well, think about this. Because I already have you detained, you're in my custody.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can let you out in 5 years if you take this plea, or you're going to do 30 if you want to maintain your innocence. That is putting you in a position. It's coercion. It's your free. You can't coerce people with their own freedom. Either they did it or they didn't do it, or either there's evidence that they did it or there's evidence that they didn't do it enough to convince a jury. That's what it should be based on, not based on the fact of, am I so afraid of 30 that I'll take the 5.
Right. And
That's
also
coercion.
And also another thing to blame that's indirectly to blame for that. Oh, our friend capitalism again, because it becomes a system where those with more means are able to obtain better defense than those without means. The skill level, and I'm sure these people are wonderful people. I'm sure they practice law, in most cases to their best of their ability. And I'm not saying they're unskilled. But the difference in talent between a public defender and like a Johnny Cochran's of the world is massive.
No, but they're subsidized, but not subsidized the same way that the police are subsidized. They're not, you know what I mean? There's not $1 million defense attorneys that are just walking around as public defenders. Why is that? Why can't someone get rich being a public defender, but they can get rich being a cop? Because it's fucking broken. It's not working properly. So now you have one side of the equation that's incentivized to capture and kidnap people, and the other side that's disincentivized to
Reed,
to free people. So there you go.
Yeah, and I mean I don't agree with the comment in the chat, but like it's public defenders are necessary, but they're necessary because of our economic system.
They're necessary because of our Constitution.
They're necessary because of our right, but every lawyer should be that for the most part. When you have a system where you have a service that every person should have by right. But then you have another level of service better than that you can get that everybody aspires to do who's in the system that's free, is provided by the state, and they all want to do that. So they want to show how good they are to get better and move up there. Then that would be a little bit better because it would be like a system of minor leagues moving up. But you don't see that. You see people. Some people will spend time working for the prosecutor. Some people spend time working as a public defender. There's not like a clear lineage to become like a high profile defense attorney. And like, this is probably a better topic for attorney Anna than myself, because I don't study this particular area. So I don't have like all of the answers here, but I do know that when you have access to income, when you have access to funds, you have a higher propensity to get off for the same crime that someone who does not have access to funds has for the exact same offense.
It looks here, the average public defender's salary in the U.S. is...
Let me guess. Can I guess?
Yes.
Actually, give me a multiple choice of 3. I want to see if I get it right.
We'll do. No. You have to guess. You have to guess.
Okay,
the number.
Just a flat. All right. So this is for the whole country.
Average throughout the average base salary U.S. dollars.
All right. Put your guesses in the chat. I'm not going to look in case anyone's cheating and Googling it.
Don't Google.
I say. Well, someone will cheat Google and they'll put it, and I'll say that. I don't want to be accused of that. I'm going to say $37,000.
All right, 37,000 for Dutch. We'll give it a couple minutes.
I'm probably low. I'm probably a little low, but I don't think I'm that low.
I'm checking multiple sites and then I'll get an average of those because I don't trust just one.
I got my news from OANN, and I have no need to go.
It says here, public defenders make $5 trillion. That can't be right. Yeah, that was the answer, guys. $5 trillion.
5 trillion yen.
Oh, you're doing per case? Okay, I was talking about per year.
Is that 425 per case? If so, that's not. I mean, well, how many cases do they do a year? You have to look at that though.
And how many weeks are they spending per case?
Yeah.
So they have to have multiple cases going at the same time, which is, again, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, my attorney for my divorce, they went to court for me like 4 times. I met them 4 times, and it was like $6,000. I forget what the rate was. I want to say, I don't even remember. I don't even remember. It was a lot.
So, I mean, with all the hourly rates, it's all about the same thing. So it's about $50 an hour. And it
Okay, so that's
goes,
what, about $60,000 or $55,000 a year?
yeah.
I mean, it. You can live off that, I suppose, in most places.
Yeah, for a 60-hour a week job with people's lives on the line.
Yeah, and then you
You have to have multiple cases going at the same time to keep your head above water.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't fair because you're not getting a proper defense. Even if people clearly did something wrong, they still have a constitutional right to be protected by by some sort of attorney so that they don't further incriminate themselves. They have that right, just like I need that right in case I get pulled over and I say something stupid. I need somebody to say like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done this and this, so that gets thrown away. Like, that's important to have. And things have to be done legally in this country, unless you're rich.
Right. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
Hey, Ollie Man. Nice to see Ollie Man on in the daytime, because every time we're on late, he always has to go to bed in the beginning of the show.
Well, maybe if the show didn't start at midnight.
Maybe if I didn't have kids. Well, I got them already. Mikey, I need to introduce. How long have I been telling you about Sudafed? You refuse to listen.
I don't know what part of I'm not taking your nose
vaccine
shit. I'm not taking your nose shit. I'm not taking all this weird shit. Dude, I literally have been taking the same
Sudafed anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, if you're getting vaccinated with Sudafed, stop going to that doctor's office right away.
Why do you have these?
No,
why do you hate science, Mikey?
I take the same allergy pill every day around the same time every day. I have had almost 2-3 weeks. I haven't sneezed once. Been just fine. Today I woke up. It decided to not work. That's just how it goes. It'll work until it doesn't. And then tomorrow I'll be fine. It's just one of those things. And living in corn country doesn't help.
No.
Somebody probably cleared their field. Is probably what it is.
Out here, it's the in California, Central California, the bad one is the almond trees. When they shake the almond trees,
yeah,
that's when
shit's in the air.
Oh God, it's fucking. It's like you can see it floating, and you're like, it's coming to your nose, and it's like they're coming. They're like, I'm coming for your nose. Whoa.
It's like the little ghost dudes from fucking Lord of the Rings who broke their word and were cursed under the mountain.
Speaking of ghosts, did you watch last week's stream I did with Lindsay?
No.
You have to go watch it.
No.
The beginning. We went over the origin story for Casper the Friendly Ghost from the comics.
Did he get hit by a car?
Darkest. It's the darkest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. Like it is. I've never seen anything darker. And we went through. I showed all the screenshots of the comic. It was, it's like an unofficial origin story, I suppose, but it's from the 70s or 80s. Just fucking crazy shit. It's on YouTube still. It's probably still on Twitch too. In the old videos, we talked about it like early on in the show for about 10 minutes. And but what are your thoughts on this ACT score thing? Like kind of what that video was getting to. I was going to bring up some of the comments on LinkedIn where this is
ACT scores aren't indicative of anything.
Right, but it's a big story now that their scores are down.
Yeah, because that's a metric for people to say whether or not they deserve more money or not. It has nothing to do with students. It has nothing to do with what they're learning. It has nothing to do with any of that. Yeah, you're muted, so probably gonna have to unmute yourself if you want me to hear you. That's okay. He's trying, y'all. I'll get him there. He's just so damn stubborn. He wants to do everything his way.
Yeah, I hear you twice now for some reason.
I didn't do it.
Oh, I know why.
Don't you? Never mind.
Okay, you should be able to see this. ACT scores lowest in decades. Yeah, okay, I'm on the right screen here. Average ACT scores have plunged to an alarming 3-decade low. According to the organization behind the exam, test takers earn an average score of 19.8 out of 36, down from 20.3, so down a half point. Some of the comments on here are interesting. So
What year was that from?
what year was what from?
The numbers they're talking about.
The test takers in 2022. This story is 4 hours
22.
old. Yeah.
So the 22 kids, class of 22, did 0.5 worse than 21.
Right. And there's a couple interesting comments here.
Yeah, nothing happened. Nothing really happened in those years during schools or anything
Yeah.
like that. Nothing happened.
Well, that's kind of what I was taught. Like, so the right wing is coming out and obviously using this as ammunition because they're good at politics. This
They're
guy
good at
here,
fear mongering.
right. Kind of hard to tell what the real underlying cause is without, this is from a guy named Kyong, I believe is how you say it, without digging deep. But since chances are our children are not suddenly becoming dumber, I would have, this would have to fall on education. It would be nice to hear of what their demographic data and regionalized data looks like, because if you do a national statistic, it can skew regardless of different curriculum from different states and cities. The fact that it's dropping does imply it's happening across the board. Perhaps less emphasis on the ACT itself, so students are not preparing with the same rigor. Alex Lilliard, this is an interesting one. Seeing many people, mostly those who clearly can't or don't want to relate or try to understand anyone under 30. This is what he's talking about, right wingers here, especially children, because all these right wingers hate millennials and they hate Gen Z. Blaming those kids for low test scores and attributing it to them being lazy or some other ridiculous point. No mention of the lack of investment into teachers, supplies, children, and their learning environment well-being. No mention of the global pandemic that changed everyone's lives, except kids who went from being normal to socialized to lockdown and then back to school. Random COVID scares here and there, misinformation, booster questions, etc. All while trying to figure out who they are, what they want to be, and how to navigate this new normal. Teachers barely able to pay their own bills while supplying the classroom and giving their all to your children daily. All our teachers and our children excluded from fault for these low test scores? Absolutely not. But to sum it all up, kids being lazy and not wanting to work is asinine. Similar to employers forcing RTO, which is time off, with no reasoning or understanding of the current world. But no, according to some, kids are just lazy now, don't want to work hard, or whatever nonsense excuse someone wants to come up with. I totally agree with most of that. There's a bunch of comments on here about people ragging on schools. Of course, they're all white guys. And talking about, how we're not teaching kids anymore. We're focusing on, Mikey, what do you think they're saying that we're focusing on? I'll give you one guess.
I don't care about what they think. That's why I don't like any of your questions, because you always try to make me play their game. I want to talk about the issue. I don't care what the right wing has to say about anything. They're dumb, dude. They're mad.
Right,
dumb.
but the issue is that people read that and they think, and they don't realize that the political bias of it, and then they fall into it.
Goddamn, I'm not done talking. I want to talk about the ACT scores. I don't give a fuck about who's reading this. You asked me about the ACTs. I'm gonna answer the ACTs. I'm not going there with them and their shit. Yeah, the pandemic is a big fucking deal. Whether you're like in school sometimes or you're at home on a fucking Chromebook, and then you're on this day and not on this day, and then that day and not on that day, and then you got your sports stuff, and then you try to do your sports games, but you can't do that on that day, but you got to go to practice over there, and you got to do. It's been fucked up. It's been really fucked up. and then there's school shootings. There's been fucking hurricanes. Like, it's been rough for kids and the teachers. I mean, well, we already done a million fucking talks on teachers, so y'all already know how we feel about how they're treating American teachers, and then they wonder why the ACT scores are dropping. You want her to be fucking one of the Avengers, lead a prayer vigil before every fucking class. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. I know, but dude, could you imagine like not being in school every day of school and then being at home some days on a laptop? Like,
Yeah, that I
that
will
would
say
be weird.
I will say that I'm glad kids are back in school. Obviously, we need to keep them home, especially for the safety of the teachers, right? So a lot of teachers are older, a lot of them are immunocompromised. They didn't sign up to die, right? This isn't like they're a police officer where they're signing up to put their life in danger. They were signing up to protect kids and to teach kids.
Don't
right?
do that. They do
But
not sign up to protect anybody.
But
Don't even. I'm not letting you get that fucking right wing lie off in front of me.
That was called sarcasm.
Shitty sarcasm.
But the what was I saying before? Oh yeah, but like the teachers, like it was harder for them to teach the classes, right? Online. Like my kids didn't do particularly well. It's hard to keep them engaged with the TV on in the background and mom and dad working. Like it was tough. We could have figured it out in time. I think that if things had stayed that way, things would have balanced out and people would have figured out how to, allocate time in their life. But everybody was doing this at the same time, very abruptly.
Yeah.
And it caused a lot of disruption. And, people don't deal well under disruptive circumstances. So it's super understandable that, that happened.
No, but it's, but daddy who's responding to the fucking article, it's been the same at his office. So he doesn't understand what the fucking problem is. People don't think about the totality of the situation and what happened in the country during that time. Like looking at just numbers without any nuance or any background information is stupid.
Right.
But that won't stop people from commenting.
But see there's a uninformed comment from our friend in the chat who I'm not going to read it, but you can see it. That's what they think, right? They think like we should have just done nothing during COVID. And we should have just pretended it was like, another day, like it was just a regular Tuesday and everything would have been fine, and like that. So it's all about blaming COVID, and because COVID was this big conspiracy to take out Trump and, it was created in a Wuhan lab by Nancy Pelosi and the Han family. I've heard all the rumors, and then that wasn't enough. So then they came up with a vaccine to, blah, 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 blah. And it's all goes back to that same conversation. They want to be able to blame a leftist overreaction to COVID as the problem for this. And that's not what it is. Like, it's not even close.
Y'all not finna trick me.
But we knew they'd go there, right? Like if scores had gone up, then they would have had some way to spin that, right? They would have said, oh, they're not judging by the same metric as they were before or something of that nature.
And what do we want their scores high for? Like, what is the purpose of having a high score? So that you get into college?
Well, and the other thing real quick is scores have been trending down since before COVID. So explain the trend down before that.
They knew Joe Biden was coming.
Right. That's what it was. It was still the left's fault because you have drag queens reading to kids. That must be what it is. It's got, I mean, it has to be what it is, because in the 50s, that never would have happened, but it did, and when I mean, what I'm talking about is you still had people who did that. You just didn't allow them out of their house. And when they did, you threw eggs at them.
Let that be a lesson to them.
Yeah. So now, because we want to show kids that people are humans, and based on that humanity, deserve respect and aren't weird or evil, that's a problem.
I'm not buying
know.
it. I'm not buying it.
Treat people like people. Yeah. So it's a really novel idea. If a guy wants to wear a dress, he's a person. If a guy wants to wear pants, he's a person. You know, Scottish people.
Yeah, I mean, what?
They're people.
I mean, you're trying to get them into college so that they can do what? Get a 4-year degree, paying all of that money, sit under all that debt to do what? In that 4 years, no one has retired in that industry. So they're going to be working at McDonald's. They're going to be driving Uber Eats. They're like, sorry, boomers, y'all got to go. Get out of the workforce. Go retire. Get out of the way. You're in the way. Progress is trying to be made, and there's like this old crypt keeper hand grasped on the fucking door frame that just won't let us progress. So until the boomers are gone, this is what we're going to be stuck with. People bitching and moaning over every single facet of American life.
So fact check me on this. I believe so. I'm Generation X,
right?
I want to say our generation started in the mid 60s. I am 48, so that means if someone 10 years older than me would still be in my generation. So you're at 57, 58.
Trying to find the old. I like the charts that have just the years. I don't want to read 1,000 articles about.
I want to say it's like 60 something, like 66 is when Generation X started. Because I want to say it's 20 years after the war.
Let's see. Years. So if you're born 1946 to 1964, you're a boomer.
Okay, so it's 65 then is Generation X.
65 to 80 is Gen X.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was 80 because my sister is just out of it. She's just barely a millennial. All right. So 65. So that means the boomers are the youngest boomer is exactly 10 years older than me. So the youngest boomer is 58.
Do you work with anybody if anybody knows anybody who's working with anybody who's 58, that's the problem.
But I will say this,
because here's 2 generations. If you're a millennial and you work with a boomer, something is wrong. They're supposed to be out of the fucking picture, out of the way, so that everybody else can have their jobs. That's how it works. It has to cycle. There is, to be fair, I think this is true. I believe that there's 2 boomers. I think there's like they cut it in half, I think. So you have like 45 to 55 and 55 to 65 or something like that. And like, oh, there's a Generation Jones, 55 to 65.
What is Generation Jones? Explain that to me.
It says born 55 to 65.
Oh, that's what. Why'd they pick Jones?
You're asking me like I'm his best friend. So what are the 7 living generations by the numbers? Baby boomers are born 1946 to 1964. Generation Jones is 55 to 65. Generation X is 65 to 80. Millennials are 77 to 83. Xennial. I guess it's Xennials, not Zillennials. Zillennials was the later one, I thought. Millennials are 81 to 96. Gen Z is 97 and after. Generation Alpha is 2010 and after.
Oh, that's what it is now, Generation Alpha. Okay, I didn't even know that.
Well, that's what these people claim. But okay. I mean, most of the years are pretty spot on. But yeah, baby boomers should not be in the workforce. They should be at home in a rocking chair on the porch drinking lemonade. Get the fuck out of the way. Because you see them 46 to 64. How many senators are baby boomers?
See, that is a huge problem.
Get the fuck out of the way, dude.
Yeah, that's
you were going 40 miles an hour in the left-hand lane. Move it, Grandma.
show me another. The House is a different story, but it's still a problem in the House. But the Senate, the largest and most, or I'm not the largest, the most powerful legislative body in the United States of America, the one that literally controls who's going to go be sitting on our benches, and whether or not laws get to the hands of the desk of the president. The most powerful body has an overwhelmingly disproportionate amount of people born in the 1950s, 40s, and 30s. Like, find me any other company of 100 people and tell me how many of them have an average age of, what is it, 62? What's the average age of the Senate? I think it's 52 or 62. I forget. So
64.3.
64. I'm low. 64.3 is the average age of those 100 people. Think about that for a second. Now we know that Bernie skews it because he's 700, right? But
Bernie doesn't count. They just write him off. 65.
The 99 members of the Senate. Wait, I thought there was 100. No, we don't count Bernie Sanders.
Bernie was here when we got here.
He's on his 700th term. It's just a new, like, you see the pictures. What's that? What was it? Wonder Woman. What's this picture from 1940? Who are you? I'm Bernie Sanders.
He already had his desk set up when we started building this place, so we just kind of built around him. He didn't really make no fuss. We made everyone else's desk the same size as his because we figured that was the right way to do it.
Are you using ecologically friendly concrete to pull that foundation?
Yeah, he says that a lot. He does that a lot. So here I'll share those just for some context. If you guys are saying things in chat, I'm sorry, I'm not reading it. I'm not in the mood today. Sorry.
Hey, Lamar.
Hi, Lamar. I like Lamar. So this is the age distribution in the United States from 2011 to 2021. So up here at the very top, the way to try to zoom in on that. Oh, Jeebus Creepus. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. So if you look here, this gray section is for people that are 65 and plus. The middle section is people 15 to 64. And then the bottom section is 0 to 14. So newborns up to like sophomores. If you will notice, the number of old people, 13.25, 5.6, 9.1, 14.27, 6.4, 15. The number of old people is consistently going up.
Medicine.
Huh. So you're living a long ass time. And then the middle group is right around 65. The lowest is 64.72, which is last year or 2 years ago. And then at its peak, it was probably like 67.7. So it's all within 2 points. Right around 66. But then the young people, it goes from 20 to 19 to 18. And we're at 18.24 2 years ago. For 0 to 14-year-olds. I'm telling you, we are getting squished by old people. Get the fuck out of the way. If you're going to be alive, that's fine. We don't mind, but you cannot rule over the other, let's see here, 80% of the country with your old ass. You don't have the muscle, the tenacity, the goddamn intelligence to do so. So stop. Just
the testicular fortitude.
You ain't got it no more. All right. You got no heat on your fastball left. And you want us all to pretend that you're throwing strikes. Look at fucking Trump. This is the most cheatiness ass motherfucker on the planet. Right. Like, golf is a very old person game. Sorry. It just is. It takes a long time to do. There's no explosions. Like, I get it. It's a game for the mind. It's you against the ball. This motherfucker cheats at golf, and y'all didn't see that as a red flag? Do y'all cheat at golf?
Yes.
Do y'all beat up on people because they're weaker than you?
The mulligan is a thing. I think that's one thing that the left and the right have in common. They all equally cheat at golf.
Nah, bro. Nah, bro. When you got skill,
In
you
that
ain't
one
gotta cheat.
instance.
When you got skill, you ain't gotta cheat. But also, if I'm old, I don't give a fuck. If I'm worth all this money that he says he's worth, I don't care if I lose at golf. Because I'm just not at work. And that's what's important to me. That's what everybody in this fucking, I won't pull it back up, but everybody in that 17.04%, that's what y'all need to be doing. Getting the fuck out of the way, not hindering rights, not running the country, not doing, your time has come. It is time to begin the third age of Middle Earth. It's time for you to leave. Get on your ship, go off to the retirement home or stay in your house or watch grandbabies that you all want us to have so desperately. I don't know why there ain't a bunch of fucking daycare centers running around with everybody's talking about some all lives matter, talking about some it's got a heartbeat. Where's all the adoption agencies? Oh, but y'all want to be sitting here at the Caterpillar factory. Y'all want to be at the grocery store. Because you ain't got no money. Because capitalism has failed you. And now you're trying to make us correct your poor decisions. The younger peeps. And I ain't going. In fact, I'll be leaving as soon as I can. Because fuck this. I'm not going to help y'all fucking.
You keep promising.
I'm working on her every day. I'm like, coming in live from Tokyo.
Tokyo would be cool.
I'd love to live in Tokyo. I have a food thing. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
I tell you, for the old Phil Donahue with Trump on it from the 80s, Trump did what he said he would do back then. Yeah.
Phil Donahue, what a fucking show. Holy shit. That show was fucking buck wild, dude.
And at the time, that shows you, but see, that shows you the political climate at the time, right? Like, obviously, what he said back then on Oprah and on Donahue and stuff like that was more subtle as far as like what white America heard. They didn't like he's a way more overt now than he was then, but the undertones were always the same.
Senile.
It was always xenophobe. He is a classic xenophobe. You know, and we have some undressing happening on the show. Subscribe for more. Please subscribe for more, and Mikey will take off yet another item of clothing.
No, it won't. Maybe my socks, but you'll never see my feet.
For $50 a month, the socks come off.
That's terms of service. You can't say that.
The socks come off.
I just said it's terms of service. Don't say it so you repeat it. Stop saying
socks?
shit. Stop.
What is in terms of service about that?
Stop and listen, and I will explain. You cannot offer to do things, anything, for money. Especially when it comes to removing clothing. That is against terms of service. They will nuke our channel. Stop. That is against the rules. Even if you're joking, don't joke like that. We're not like at the bar. We're broadcasting across the internet, so we have to play the internet's rules.
I have to go read those because
read it.
That's lunacy 101.
No, you want them to watch all of your episodes so that they can get the nuance of all of your
Are you talking about YouTube or Twitch?
Everything.
Or both? So how do these people get away with the stuff they do? Because that's
like
literally what those people who might lick microphones do.
No, they don't do that. They will never ask anyone. They will never say, I will do this and this for subs. They will never
sure they
say.
Do. Yeah, okay. I've watched streams recently where the young lady on the stream will be like, I'll stretch for X.
Stretching does not take anything off. But
you're still doing something.
The stretching is part of the thing. It's part of good computer. Like they're supposed to stretch and hydrate and all that stuff. And she's choosing to stretch in a way that guys like to look at.
Ollie Man, the answer is yes.
I don't know what the question is.
He said if he subs, you'll put on more clothing.
I'll consider it. But yeah, you
We'll
can't
have
say
him.
that.
We'll get him a North Face coat, and he can put that on.
That is them's is the breaks. As much as you don't like it, and as much as you want to argue with it, the rules have already been established. Everything's already been sorted. You have to play by the rules. Sorry, I have to be the referee. But them's the breaks. Where's my
The problem is you're not a very you're a mean referee.
Because when I try to, I'm warning track, and then you assholes accelerate, and then I have to fucking stop, because you never catch the hints. You just foot to the metal, baby. We're going.
It's like Jerry Falwell, the moral majority over here. But that is proof to the pudding, though. Like, I thought you had to, and I thought in order to have morals, you had to be on the right, or you had to be a Christian. I had a guy. I went to Walmart yesterday, which of course had another table out front. You know what's amazing for a company that right wingers always are ripping on for being who sold out to China. They always choose to do their petition boards, their petition tables outside of the Walmart. It's pretty astonishing to me. But they had the, what was it this time? Reduce the gas tax. I think it was yesterday. And the guy saw me and he's like, I already know you, because I've argued with this guy before. I'm like, yeah, I know you too. I'll let you live today. But as I was walking out of the Walmart, this guy walked up to me. He's like, I'm with something or other. It was some Christian thing. And he's like, something church or something revival. And he's like, I'm taking donations. He's got the milk jug, with the dollar bills in it. And he's like, you support this? I'm like, I don't support churches. I don't give money to churches. He goes, what? I'm like, no, sir, I don't. I'm trying to walk by this guy. I don't give money to churches. He's like, don't you believe in God? I was like, yeah, probably. But I don't believe in churches. The guy goes, oh, I'm going to pray for you. I was like, thanks.
Why don't he pray for some money? You can't literally serve an all-powerful God and then ask me for fucking dollar bills made in fucking Denver. What are you talking about? You better pray your ass a fucking replicating machine. Why the fuck are you asking me for anything? You have omnipotent force on your side. Benevolent, omnipotent force. Yet I'm supposed to give you money that I pay taxes on already. Lost your damn mind. But it's for the kids. You better pray for them kids some backpacks.
Well, I'm like, the guy's like, I talked to him twice. I talked to him once on the way in and once on the way out. And he didn't remember me, apparently, the first time. He asked me the second time. And I'm like, I guess he was camped out by my car. So we had the same conversation 2 times. And the second time he goes, oh, yeah. You're that guy. And I'm like, I kind of feel bad because I don't want to be mean to the guy. But I don't know what you're going to do with that milk jug full of money.
Don't matter. He should fucking fishes and loaves that bitch into a fucking $1 million. Just saying. What's the point of having a religion if there's no fucking if there's no bennies? I can't do fucking transapparition. I can't just make shit appear out of nowhere. What's the point? Might as well go with the Wiccans.
Yeah, I was having a conversation about that the other day.
Yes.
Do you think that I know I'm very aware of where you stand on your atheism and everything like that.
Are you?
But the question I have is do you have a similar level of I don't want to call it skepticism, whatever word I'll let you define it yourself.
Vitriol?
No, I don't think. No, I understand the vitriol because you'll see where I'm going in a second. The vitriol I get because the church has damaged people, right? So, but what I'm talking about is more like the irritation of disbelief, maybe is the best way to describe it. You'll see where I'm going in a second. But do you have the same thought process or feeling that comes up when people talk about stuff like ghosts?
Oh yeah, yeah, like the paranormal shit.
Yeah.
I mean, if they think here's the thing about ghost people. Ghost people are relatively benign.
It's
in their
Halloween, so
they're relatively benign in their belief of the supernatural. Like they're not they're not trying to get elected into office to put Baphomet into the Pledge of Allegiance. Like
hence the lack of vitriol.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, they're stupid to me. They're wrong to me, but they're also harmless to everyone else. So if it's not hurting nobody, do what you do.
Right, and that's I kind of figured that part, because like ghosts have not been. I mean, maybe in a religious adjacent way, but not 99% of like people who believe in ghosts is not like, they're not using it, like you said, to get power, right? Or maybe some of the TV shows are, but outside of that, you know, maybe some psychic mediums who take advantage of people are. But like when we had Deb Shepard on the show, and Deb, I love Deb. Like she's friends with she's the partner of a good friend of mine. I think she was a wonderful person. We had her on the show twice. You know, and like, but when she was doing all that stuff with Haas, and Haas obviously kind of thought it was like real. And I'm like, I think you're a wonderful person. I don't know if what you're doing is a parlor trick.
She was cold reading him. She was cold reading him, and then her little assistant was Googling Haas's all of his shit, and she went through his social media because she was listing off things about him in order, and he had just posted about her dying. I didn't say anything at the time, but that's what that shit is.
Interesting. Yeah, because like
I can, you know, my ears.
I
right?
don't buy into that.
I can hear this from a fucking mile away. Like you're not slick, bitch. You're not looking at the fucking comments. You're not chatting. You know what I mean? Like you're searching. What are you doing all that for? The homegirl's behind you. Like it's this classic 2-man fucking scheme.
Yeah, and like that's why when she came on the show, I didn't want to talk. I didn't expect her to come on and do readings. It was more like a Halloween thing. We had JD on, who was great, and like, you know, with the ghost hunting stuff, and he talks about some of that stuff, and it's cool to talk. Like, it's fun to talk about that stuff, right? Like that, I don't mind listening to stories about like how people had a very profound experience with something that we would define as supernatural. I like Melissa, she is adamant that like her brother kind of watches over my son. It gives her a feeling of peace, right? So, because her brother passed away when he was like 19. And, you know, she'll say, and then there's other times where she'll say like, hey, I had this really scary experience in the room, and like the kids were scared, and I believe there was a dark entity in there and all this type of stuff. And like, she knows I don't believe in that. And the disconnect is like, she thinks that because I don't believe that it was a ghost or demon or whatever you want to call it, that I am somehow dismissive of her experience. I believe that what you experienced had a profound effect on you, and I respect those feelings, and I'm here to talk with you about those feelings, right? Like, I think that is fine. I just think there's a different source than you. You know, you're on mute again.
I think a lot of people, and maybe this is just a me thing. I think a lot of people unnecessarily get upset when people don't care about what they care about.
Hey, Swede. Is that Irish Swede?
It is.
Hello, Irish Swede. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I mean, like, people can want to believe in whatever they want to believe in, but if you choose not to go there with them, people don't. They have this problem with validation where they need everyone around them to think and believe the same things that they do. Like, I don't care what my friends think about most things. because it doesn't concern me. And if it comes up in conversation, then we'll talk about it. But other than that, I really, as long as it's not nothing like, oh, I also burn crosses on the weekend. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's a deal breaker. But if someone's like, oh, I like to play Sega Genesis at home, I'm not gonna fucking jump on the guy and yell at him that he should be playing Xbox or buy a gaming PC and you should be doing that. Fucking play your Genesis. It doesn't bother me. Whoa, these men are sleeping together. Do I have to do anything? Well, no, you just have to listen to me. No, I don't want to do that either. No, I'm out of here.
I have to live next door to them. I have to lay there at night and think about the immorality taking place at Sodom and Gomorrah next door to me.
Yeah, that's a reflection on you, right? Like that's a reflection on the observer. If all you do is think about other men having sex, like when guys like are being toxic and they want to call everything they reference about the person is, oh, you're doing that, that's gay. You're doing this is gay. You keep eating that popsicle like that. You keep eating that banana like that. Why do you love gay men so much? And why are you so vigilant about gayness? Just get a boyfriend and fucking call it a day. Just get a boyfriend. You'll have a great time. You guys can fucking smoke weed and play 2K and drink brown liquor all fucking day and no one will stop you. But don't tell me that I eat a hot dog like a gay person just because you're insecure about yourself. Be yourself. But no one can be themselves. They have to be part of something. And that's because it is scary being by yourself. And as soon as you give up a God belief, you feel really alone. You feel really scared. And what the fuck? What do I do if I'm wrong? How do I square this circle? Like, what's going to happen to me when I die? Because I've sworn off that. Like that was my backup, and I gave it up. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I have to be okay with I don't know, because there is nothing I can do with any kind of scientific certainty to prove what happens after I die. It's an unknowable question. And do I either want to spend time loving on people as long as I can, or do I want to bank on this guess? And I'd rather be as good as I can. And if that means I don't get into certain places, then it is what it is. I'm gonna enjoy myself either way.
The way I come at it is this: if banking on the guess is what makes you sleep good at night, that's fine. I have no problem with anyone being religious. What I have a problem with is two things. I have a problem with people insisting that they're right and then like demeaning people for it. And when they believe, that's part A, and part B is if you feel that belief gives you entitles you to say that you have a higher threshold, or like a more superior form of morality than people who don't believe that. And now I'm going to try to push you to have everyone to have this in the form of government. That's where I have a really, really, really big problem, because the church, like in my life, this is for me. I'm not saying that other people do this. In Jason's life, I draw a hugely bright line between the existence of God and the action of the church. They are not related to each other at all. If God were real, he would have an equal chance of liking or disliking what the church is doing. And I don't know what the answer to that is, so it's useless for me to talk about it. Right? So what I can see with my eyeballs, or as TJ used to say, his earballs, is I can see the damage that religion does to people. There are people it helps too. Like there are people who like suffer from one ailment or another, and they believe their faith helped them get through that. That's a profound experience. I respect that. I just, again, I disagree on what the source was. I think that there's good science to show that positive mind frame can be healing.
But you also have people not going to the doctor because they prayed instead.
That's a different thing. Yeah. That's like the extreme. You know what I mean? Right.
Well, that's not that extreme. That's very common. That's not.
It's becoming more so, I think. I don't know if that's always been a problem. Maybe it has.
I'm telling you, from at least in the black side, People will pray on something rather than go to the doctor. There's a
Right,
financial,
but that's
there's
not
a
because
financial,
of that,
there's,
though.
there's a financial reason.
Right.
But that's the problem with the God of the gaps, where the God will always fill in whatever you're lacking. The God will come and fix it for you. So what ends up happening is systemically, the city or the town or whatever, instead of fighting to make sure that they have what they need for those gaps, they trust and put it on the Lord, and then they roll the dice. So I prayed and I got better. And then I prayed and, oh, Sister Johnson her service is going to be on Wednesday. And it's, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's, I'll just do this because I don't know how to structurally fix what, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people are using religion to fill in a gap somewhere in their psyche. It's somewhere in their id. They're missing something, and that's there to fill that, whether it's fear of the unknown, whether it's how to grieve, because like grieving as an atheist is very different, because it is a true mourning. Like, I will not see them again. It is a true deep sadness that religious people really haven't really come to terms with, because it's, then the older you are when you deconvert, the more people throughout your life you remember. That remembrance is all you get. That's all you got.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, the church, that's why especially Christianity is so problematic, because when you fill people's voids with false hope to me, it's dangerous, because they won't actually go to fix their problems, because they can pray it away, or they can believe that it'll be better later. They'll stay in bad situations because their reward is on the other side. And you can't tell people that when they only have one life. Like, you only get, this is battle royale. You only get one life, no respawns. But when you tell people, but you do have a respawn, and that's with reincarnation stuff, you can't tell people that they have another chance when you don't have evidence that they have another chance. You have belief that they have another chance. That's not fair to them. And they may not have ever thought that this could be wrong. It never came up to them that this could be wrong.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that, because like I hadn't thought of that from that. I'm not an atheist, right? So I hadn't thought of that finality in grieving, and that's got to be something that's difficult. I'm more of like in the question where like I hold out hope for, but I don't pretend that I know, right? So like it's where I am with religion is very eclectic, but like it's,
you're spiritual.
Like I don't think I'm spiritual. Like I think that like things like the cosmological theory there's a reason to pay attention to it. But I also think that like to pretend that is any more scientifically proven than just because it's an interesting equation, than like, the Fermi paradox, or the what's the other one? I forget the name of the other alien equation.
Drake's equation.
The Drake's equation. Thank you. That is kind of, it's irrelevant. So the problem that I have a problem with things that I see, right? And if you are going to say things like, well, like, because Christianity has this element of grace, right? So like the Bible says, by grace you have been saved, not by works. So basically what that means is that's the only thing that matters is God's grace. At any point in time in your life, you can receive God's grace. And a lot of people believe that once you receive God's grace, you can never lose that grace, right? So theoretically speaking, I'm protected by that clause, because I did receive God's grace a few times in my life. And now that I'm not quite sure that it's there, I'm still perpetually protected by it. So I'm good either way under that philosophy. But nonetheless, what people do is they'll say, well, I can do whatever bad I want, because I could just ask for forgiveness later and it's all good. And that's not the way things work in the justice system, but it is the way that things work in this moral system. So I have a problem with that moral system. The other thing is that people give credit to God when things happen good, but he never, like if you try to hold him, if you get mad at him for something that happens bad, like let's say that someone's wife or child or family member, whomever the case may be, is direly ill, right? Like, and that person, if that person is healed, God performed a miracle. But if they pass, it was God's will.
But take it
So it's like,
take it back one step.
And I have a problem with that.
But take it back one step. Why did God make them sick?
They didn't. It was. See, here's where you.
That's what I'm saying. Why did
this
he
is the
let them
problem
get
with arguing with Christians, because they'll say, "Well, sin made him sick."
Well, then he should have been sick, and you shouldn't have asked for healing. He should have been sick. If
I'm
you're
not,
God,
and I don't mean the sin of that person always. I'm talking about the original sin from Genesis.
well, then that's what happens. That's even in a non-health sense, when people accomplish great things through hard work and dedication, a bit of luck, the first thing they say is thank God.
Yeah.
They forget about the people around them. They forget about themselves. Like that's like everything that a human does on their own you should get credit for it. It should not be.
Yeah.
If you don't just thank somebody that no one's ever seen before as the progenitor for this kind deed or
Right. But it goes beyond that. Like look at, like, say Russell Wilson or Tim Tebow, right? These deeply religious, like, athletes. And it's fine that they're religious, but like if Russell Wilson wins they play on Monday night, right? So if Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos win on Monday night, Russell Wilson's going to get interviewed after the game, and he is going to say, glory be to God, thank you for God to giving us this win. But he never says that when they lose. He doesn't say glory to God for the loss, right? Now, I'm not trying to rag on Russell Wilson.
Yeah, fuck you, Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
This is a Russell Wilson expose.
Well,
taking you down,
I will
bitch.
say fuck you, Russell Wilson, for your performances this year, because you are on my fantasy team. 2 of them, in fact, and you're fucking my fantasy teams, Russell Wilson. So definitely fuck you on that. However, on your religious
I
choice,
can't
I'm
make
calling out
money
the
off of
hypocrisy.
you, Russell Wilson. So fuck
Yeah.
you.
I can't talk shit in the chat generally, that's more important than the money. But but like it's just very dishonest to me to like blame, and people do this with capitalism too. Like they'll and other things, they'll give capitalism all the credit in the world for the rags to rich story. But the rich to rags story, it's your own fault. You fucked that up, right? You must have done something irresponsible. Or if you never became rich, well, you didn't work hard enough. Your bootstraps weren't long enough.
It's that need to be in a group, a need to belong to something, whether that's being successful, whether that's being popular or pretty or tall or ugly or whatever your bag is. That need to connect is why we have religions.
Yeah.
And you can connect without it.
I was going to talk a little bit about supply chain. I'm not going to do that since Mikey's on, but I will say warehouse prices are coming down, so the supply chain's easing a little bit, so that's good news. Thanks, Dark Brandon.
Mikey Famine, infamous hater of supply chains.
but like obviously you and I don't get a chance to just sit and talk a lot. With about the religion thing, so I appreciate that, because I know we don't agree on some of the stuff, but like I think that you think we disagree more than we do.
No.
I actually think we agree quite a bit.
You think I care about more things than I care about.
No, you care.
I don't.
Because I can see the beads of sweat.
It's hot in here. I just took this off.
But the one thing I will say, and like I understand that you live in America, so anecdotally for you, like Christianity is the big monster in the room, but
it's the one currently doing the most bad
in America. What's happening in Iran right now is worth talking about.
The girls giving up their
Yeah, girls are literally being
the
killed
hijab.
by the Islamic State police for protesting.
They've been doing
And-
that, and nobody
yes,
cared.
and nobody nobody is talking about this. And it's like, I understand that the media is kind of like, we have this issue in the United States of like of a fear of being anti-Semitic. So it's like you're not allowed to criticize Israel because this dishonest group of actors is going to come in and say you're anti-Semitic. No, not anti-Semitic. Love Jewish people. Not a fan of the Jewish government. Those things are different because it's a right-wing government.
Wrong.
But
Wrong. Correct what you said. It's not the
What'd I
Jewish
say?
government.
The Israeli government. Thank you.
There you go.
So, yeah, thank you for correcting me there.
Because that would
But
have been like, ha, we got him.
but like like, I love Muslim people. Not a fan of this Islamic theocratic government in Iran. Like, this is a totalitarian theocratic state that is literally being medieval with people.
Well,
And
well,
these women who are fighting this are fucking heroes.
But this is the false dichotomy that's brought up, is it's either Muslim or Christian. See how the Muslims are doing? That's why you got to go Christian.
Yeah, but the funny part is that the Christians want they want to have a government that is free to impose those same oppressions on people. Exactly. And they're literally pushing for a Christian theocracy when we know for a fact, because we've lived it already, it was called the Middle Ages, antiquity, etc., that we had that, and they did that.
Well, they want to bring it back.
Yeah, but because Islam is doing it, that's a separate thing. That's their anti-Islam part of them. But secretly, they love what fucking Islam is doing.
In the teen group, not Sunday school, but whatever like the teen group equivalent is, when I was going to church, I swear to you, I'm not going to say his name, but a certain reverend said he admired the dedication of the Muslims over what we do as Christians. People will show up every week, they out there blowing themselves up for this stuff. They actually mean what they say. Like, this is that. They're all death cults as far as I'm concerned, because it's only in death that things really get good. So if one person is forcing people to death, that's okay. They're going to get their reward, or they're going to get their punishment. We'll speed up the process for them. But it's all about this afterlife, and what you're not adhering to what's in my book. And if I don't rule a great land that follows all the rules, then I won't make it to the happy land. So now everyone has to follow all these rules, or else I'm not going to the happy land, and I can't have that. So you're going to put them on, or you're going to die. And that's where we're at. Like, that's where we're at. And in the States, y'all think we're 100 steps away from that. We're probably about 5 steps away from that.
Yeah, I think the only place where I'll counterpunch that is, like, I think there's a spectrum, right? I don't think every Muslim or every Christian, adheres to that exact philosophy, but I think that the aggregate trends the way that you were talking about, right? Like, they won't actively fight against it.
But those aren't the ones that we're worried about, right? We're not worried about the roughly benign, the normally benign. It's the fundamentalists. It's the extremists. Right. That's the party that I'm only speaking towards, because the regular people, I don't even fucking care what y'all do. Just don't do nothing. Be nice to kids, and don't fucking rob the community blind, and we're good. Believe and sing and do whatever the hell you want.
There's really no, like, anybody who thinks that Islam and Christianity run around completely different tracks doesn't know anything about religion, because Islam gets all of their ideas from the Torah.
Not really.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. In fact, the Quran, they have additional ideas. That what I'm saying is this: the ideas within Quran are rooted in the Old Testament. Right? They believe that I almost said Iran. Islam calls Jews the people of the book. That's what they're called in Islam. At least in most of the sects of Islam. There's other sects that someone might call me out on and say, "Oh, this group doesn't." Okay. But doctrinally they hold a reverence for them because, you know, they call them the people of the book. They have a reverence for Jesus. Islam believes in the virgin birth via Mary. They believe that when they talk about Jesus, they say, blessed, you know, peace be upon him. You know, they believe in the prophets. They just believe that that Jesus was a prophet and not the savior. And they believe that Muhammad they believe that Christ foretold of Muhammad, and then Muhammad is the final prophet. And because of the fact that the Jewish people turned away from his teachings, God's teachings, Allah's teachings, that now it is the people of the Islamic faith who are now the new chosen ones of God. In essence, I could be misspeaking that a little bit because it's, you know, I haven't studied this stuff for a while, but so I might have gotten a tiny bit of that wrong, but I got most of it right. You know, like I'm just saying, like if somebody's going to nitpick with me and say, well, they actually use this verb instead of that verb, but the overall arch of what I just said is accurate. But if you go back and you look at like the things that happened in Leviticus and the book of Kings, like if you want to read a shitty book, read Kings. You know, it is fucking, and like, or I said Kings, Judges, I meant. Read Judges.
No.
Judges is, I don't know where I got Kings from because I was thinking about
Sacramento.
I was thinking about our earlier conversation.
Oh, LA.
With the Queen, but yeah, the LA Kings. I was thinking of the Sacramento Kings. Like I was thinking of Run TMC in the old days. Oh no, that was Golden State. Never mind. But where was I going? So Judges, like in the book of Judges, this guy marries like his cousin, I think it is, and then like sells her off.
I thought you said you didn't. I thought you said you didn't watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, cuts her like that. He cuts like she gets like mutilated by people because he like let people rape her, and it's just, and then he brings like her hands back to it. It's just a really gross story. Judges is like the worst read of any book in the Bible. It is, and Leviticus like talks about all this stuff in very final ways. Like parts of Leviticus are just like, you know, when you burn a sacrifice, you should burn it like this. And part of it is like, someone does this, you stone them. You know, so it's like,
what was that about grace? I couldn't remember.
But according to Christian theology, Hebrews says the old law is dead. You know, and Jesus said, I have not come to change the law. I've come to fulfill the law. Fulfill means end. If I fulfill my debt to you, I no longer owe you a debt. So you no longer have to abide by the Levitical laws because you have the grace. Grace is now available to you based on the salvation offered through the sacrifice of Christ. So those things are no longer necessary. But the weird part, dude, here's the crazy weird part though. Like, because Christian fundamentalists are so fucking psycho, they ignore the fact that about what I just said about, you know, no longer needing to adhere to the old law because you have Christ now.
So get rid of the
Ten Commandments, right? And they say no, that's the funny part. They say no, we still need to revere these books. Why? Throw them in the trash. There's nothing fucking good about Leviticus. Other than like you might be able to pull out of the 630 something Levitical laws or 620 or whatever it is, you might be able to pull 15 of them out of there that are benign. The rest aren't. They're not benign at all. So why do you need to keep these? Oh, well, we have to keep them because some asshole in the year 380 decided it should be in a book, and we can't have been wrong.
Or it fits my political purposes to mention these books.
Now, yes. though that wasn't the case 40,
back
50 years ago.
back then, yes. What are you talking about?
Oh, back then, yeah, for sure.
Back then,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Now, yes.
I-
Always, yes.
you're
They
right,
always
you're
use
right,
the
you're right.
Old Testament to do one thing, but then immediately they want to flip the coin and say that that's
Yeah.
an old covenant and we're under a new covenant. Like I went to church. Like I'm very learned with all this stuff. So it's not like I'm just like talking completely out of my ass here.
No.
They-
I thought you meant like in U.S. political discourse, like here in the U.S., like currently.
Yes, that
They-
yes.
But they didn't have to. They didn't. There's a difference though. Now you have part of the United States, a very large section of the United States, that is either religiously benign or not benign. That's not the word I'm looking for. Can you hear that screaming in the background?
No, just go on.
Like my son is like playing or something. But like you have inert is that like you have this this group of Christians that are very, very like religiously inert. They don't really, participate much in the church. You have a lot of people who are like yourself. You have a lot of people who are of other faiths in this country. So the spectrum is widening. So you have to so the Christian church has picked their lane, like Victory Channel, they've picked their lane. If you go back 100 years, 80 years, even like 50 years,
When they were using
most
the
of
Bible
it-
to justify slavery.
right? But most of America was like the difference between a Republican and a Democrat religiously was like maybe nothing. It was indistinguishable. Now there's a big difference between a Christian like Pelosi and a Christian like Pat Robertson, right? Even though I still am not a fan of Pelosi, you can distinguish the difference between Pelosi Christianity and Pat Robertson Christianity. 50 years ago, you couldn't make that distinguish. You couldn't distinguish it because everybody believed about the same thing in the US. You know what I mean? So like the Republicans and Democrats founded the prayer breakfast together. So now it's a right-wing thing. Of course, Pelosi still goes, and prays for her beloved Republicans. Her and Gavin Newsom still goes, and all these guys still go. But but like it's over the course of the last maybe I don't know when, but I'm gonna guess like the 90s, probably the Clinton years, that started to change. And with Newt Gingrich, who by the way, not a Christian.
Yeah, I thought he was going to run for president, but McCain ended up doing it.
He is responsible for every single success that they have had. The guy is a fucking political genius. He's a fucking evil bastard, but he's a political genius. Everybody who's doing stuff now, the McCarthys and the Trumps, they're all using his playbook.
Also, childish Abraham is his true lineage.
Right. So that he is absolutely correct. In Islam and actually Christianity kind of talks about this too in the Bible. Abraham had Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael was the oldest by Haggai, or Hagar was the mother's name. I forget. And she was his servant / slave. And Sarah was his wife. So Sarah could not have children. She was quite old, so she wanted a kid. So she said, go ahead and bang the slave. So Abraham banged the slave. The slave gave him Ishmael. That was his son. Ishmael was in maybe around 10. And then God said, you know what? I'm going to actually give you a kid. You didn't have to have slept with your slave. And then they had Isaac. And after they had Isaac, Sarah no longer wanted Haggai and Ishmael around, so she booted them. Abraham was like, okay, you got to go because my wife wants you gone and I have a new son now. But he was super nice to them though and gave them like $5 and a pony. So they went off and they started and the descendants of Ishmael is now as today's Islam, and the descendants of Isaac is today's Christianity. So
I don't care.
I know you don't care.
I'm trying to be as gracious as possible, but no one gives a fuck. I
That's
would
just
rather talk about
it's-
Lord of the Rings and like their travel.
But that's not necessarily like a religious thing. That's just like a myth, right? Like there's not even evidence that Abraham really existed.
Bro, what are we even talking about here? Look at how they will take you a logical man of the 2022 year, and now here you are disseminating the mythos of it. I'm not playing that.
I can do that with Greek mythology too. Nobody gets mad.
At least that has pillars and statues. You know what I'm saying? They made some cartoons out of it. At least there's some there.
The Bible has rape, incest, and murder.
Yeah, I wonder why I skipped that. Yeah, I'm good.
What do you think Game of Thrones was based off of?
Fucking, I have no interest in Bible study about shit that didn't happen. Yeah, again, we can talk about Rings of Power.
But I told you already, I'm not caught up yet. So here's how far behind I am.
You know,
here's how far behind I am.
When this present season of shit dropped and everything was dropped, like House of the Dragon, Hot D, they're calling it on the streets. Everybody checking out Hot D. Rings of Power, Andor, like those 3 shows I knew for sure. Like, I'm gonna stay up on them because I don't want Dutch and Haas to spoil shit for me.
Yeah, I didn't.
And lo and behold, both of you are so far behind. I should just be
You don't even know how far behind I am. I
heard you earlier.
1 episode into Andor.
Yep.
I am 3. I might be on episode 3 or 4. I have to go back and look. 3 or 4 of House of the Dragon, and 0 of the Lord of the Rings series. And Lamar wants to know, is the Rings series good?
Yes.
So I will get up on that. I did finish She-Hulk.
I didn't even start that. I'm probably not going to watch it. It's
really funny.
And
there are a lot of cameos.
I'm not saying I'm off Marvel, but I'm pretty sick of what's it called? What is it? What was WandaVision?
You're not off Marvel. You're going to be on there. The first day Black Panther comes out, November 11th, you're going to be there.
11, I'll be there. But I'm off the Marvel TV shows. WandaVision for me was annoying. It was so
most people
annoying.
Loved it.
I know, but most people that loved it are not Marvel fans.
Yeah, I think it was interesting, but it was the series that I enjoyed the least. I am in the super minority there. My favorite so far was Loki.
That's my wife's favorite, but I was like, that's just because your boyfriend's in it.
Yeah, Loki was my favorite. I really liked Miss Marvel. It had a lot of Spider-Man vibes for a totally non-Spider-Man theme.
Moon Knight
was really good. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I really enjoyed the social juxtapositions there.
But hold on, let's not forget there were previous Marvel shows that got shit canned, like Daredevil.
Okay, do you want me
Jessica
to?
Jones, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
All I can tell you is this: watch She-Hulk.
I'm not worried about She-Hulk. And they fucking doing spoilers and shit like that, and them doing like little cameos. I'm saying that show should have never stopped. It's
coming back.
I hear
Daredevil's
that.
Been rebooted.
I hear that, but I should not have missed a season of Daredevil for fucking WandaVision. Wanda is like the 3rd most powerful being in Marvel history. And I'm over here watching this bullshit television show.
Who are the 2 above her?
Dark Phoenix. And
I think she's more powerful than Dark Phoenix.
Most powerful.
The one above all is the number 1. The one above all is the most powerful. And
so this isn't really in order, but it's pretty close. The one above all: Hulk, Galactus, Living Tribunal, Thanos, Beyonder, Wanda Maximoff.
Well, the Beyonder, yeah. Thanos asterisk with the stones.
Beyonder is 2, Living Tribunal is 3, Cosmic Pantheon is 4, Molecular Man is 5.
Okay, I was going to say Molecule Man is fucking super powerful.
Franklin Richards.
Yes, he's very powerful too.
Sentry. Proteus.
I'm not sure that I know who Sentry is.
Hope Summers, and number 11 is Scarlet Witch. Did you see any of her cast in that fucking list? Now let's go a little bit underneath her. So then we got Gladiator, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Hercules, Zeus, Thor / Odin, Apocalypse, Hulk, Vulcan. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, she is so many tiers above all of this bullshit. The Earth shouldn't even be there because of her bad dreams. It should be gone. Like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, that's Scarlet Witch. We're all dead. Everyone's going to die. Because that's how powerful she is. And then they made her a crybaby who wants to fucking sit around watching sitcoms all the time. Like, it's women empowerment. I'm like, she is the strongest thing that's ever been. She's way up there.
Yeah, she's the strongest. If my memory is correct, she's the strongest Earth-based entity.
Well, what's his face was in there too.
Who?
The Richards son and
Franklin Richards, right? So I'm not sure who's more powerful between her. Franklin Richards, literally. So in Marvel, I forget who destroyed the universe. Maybe it was the Beyonder, but Reed Richards literally used Franklin Richards to fucking reboot the entire universe. So he's maddeningly powerful. And she's like 2 slots away from him. But I'm over here watching shitty I Love Lucy. What is happening? This witch is going to combat her? How? With what? It's the fucking Scarlet Witch. Like, if fucking John Cena walks in to a fucking, like, I don't know, a bar. First of all,
and then here comes this fucking 4-foot dude talking about something. He's going to start a fight with the next guy that walks in a bar, and John Cena walks in. He's just like, yeah, that'll do. And then they actually have a fight, and John Cena almost loses. What is Earth? What is happening?
Let me explain something to you, Mikey. As powerful as Franklin Richards, Thanos with the stones, the Beyonder, the One Above All, and the Scarlet Witch are, none of them are more powerful than Peacemaker. Because when he does that dance, they all become hypnotized. They all become hypnotized, and they are under his control. Look what he did to the eagle.
Do you really want to taste it? That's such a good show.
Eagly is more powerful.
I think DC is on the rise. DC's putting some good money in good places. Yeah, DC's putting some good money in good places, and I hope DC shows. I'm excited about Black Adam, but yeah, if you guys want me to watch fucking shitty TV shows with heroes way too strong for their element, then you got the wrong guy. I'll be rewatching Daredevil to see my boy Vincent D'Onofrio give one of his most incredible acting performances I've ever fucking seen. Did you finish Daredevil?
Do you know that he's back, right? D'Onofrio? He's been recast, or he's cast back to be in the MCU now.
Yeah, that's fine, but you didn't answer me.
Yeah, I've seen all of it.
He's killer in there.
He's fantastic. Yeah,
he's amazing. He gave so much life to Kingpin, which is the most one-dimensional character that there is ever been.
He was much better, I'm sad to say, than the recently deceased Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been Kingpin.
Yeah, he was perfect physically for the part. He is absolutely Kingpin physically. But the writing in that movie.
Yeah, that's not his fault.
And this goes for Ben Affleck too. All that writing in that movie was fucking garbage. I mean,
awful.
Ben Affleck's a good actor. What's his face was in that movie too. The guy who plays Happy Hogan, and is like Jon Favreau. He was in that movie. Michael Clark Duncan was in that movie. Russell Crowe.
Hogan is his last name?
And Jennifer Garner.
Happy Hogan?
Yeah, Happy Hogan. Well, his real name's Jon Favreau. But like all 5 of those guys are good actors. And like the movie sucked.
It just wasn't, and that's the thing. Like, we can look at something and say that's not good. But then when it comes to like putting a critical eye on something that's like funny, then people say, oh, well, it's funny. I'm like, well, I don't want the fucking Mount Rushmore powerful person to have a rom-com.
Let me tell you something. If Daredevil was a union, you would never have had the Marvel MCU because they wouldn't have allowed them to make anything else. So, all right, I'm on cue to go. Let's see. I just got the peek in the door, meaning dinner's ready. I don't know how many people we have on here.
Hi, Tim. Got 5 people.
What's up, Tim? Let's do a raid. Is Tim, are you on? Do you want to raid?
Here, I can get on. I just need a moment
Hold
to
on
log
here a
in.
second. I'm going to my creator dashboard.
And you're reading what you're clicking.
Yeah.
I will break you of it soon.
Raid channel. Famous horse. TYT is. Should we raid TYT? Who's famous horse?
They won't
I don't know
even
why.
notice.
I don't know. Let's raid them and see if they like us.
How about I
So-
just said I'm getting mine fired up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were getting yours fired.
I just need about 2 minutes. And then I'll have it up and going.
Yeah. So the 7 of you that are on right now, please hang with us for a second.
Yeah, you guys are going to come with me. We're going to talk about real stuff, not this bullshit that Dutch is on. He's always on
Right.
that bullshit. I made music yesterday. Maybe I'll make some music today. Oh my god, dude! This fucking
Oh, we have 9 viewers now.
they know we're leaving.
We just jumped up. Sorry, guys.
Hello.
You're here for the end of the show, but we're about to raid the guy on the right here.
The right guy,
Yeah, the right
as
guy.
opposed to the wrong guy.
Oh, they just left. It's back to 7.
Damn it!
We logged in to see the white man, not the right man. Ho ho ho. Howdy har har.
Didn't mean to push that. All right.
All right, are you up?
Yeah, you might have to.
I
You
don't-
might have to F5. It's gonna take a second.
I don't see it yet.
Yep, takes a
Yep.
few seconds. Let me get some music going for the stream. Then I'm gonna go smoke some weed because it helps with my anxiety because the world is ending.
All right, guys. Starting the raid. And 9, 8, 7. Please hang on and go see Mikey.
Why don't you talk about the
6.
other shows? Why don't you talk about the other shows on the network while it's doing that?
I might be back tonight. Lindsay's out tonight. She had to travel. So maybe I might come back on tonight, maybe. And then Sunday we have 2 candidates on with Lauren at 5:30 p.m.
Did you get an
So-
email back from that guy?
Which guy?
Benson? I sent it in the group chat. I said I went on his website and reached out to him to see if he wanted to come on. He was running for
No, I'll-
state secretary or state house.
I'll check it because we can use someone else. We already have one, but all right, go to see Mikey.
Come to me.
All right. Those of you on YouTube, thanks for hanging out. Love you. See you later.
Yeah, you guys are great.